Hello everyone, we're live again with another edition of the Artstation Challenge. Um, my name is Charles Fernandez. I am a 3D modeler and graphic designer, and I will be participating in a contest run by the website Artstation, a portfolio website featuring the works of visual effects and game professionals around the world. And every few months or so, they have a challenge or a contest to keep everyone's skills up and encourage them to do work outside of work to keep them sharp. The current challenge is The Legend of King Arthur, and I will be drawing Merlin. Or I'll be doing a 3D model of Merlin. Currently, everything that I've been working on so far over the last several weeks has been concept design, research, trying to come up with a realistic yet interesting looking outfit for him to wear, as well as historically accurate-ish gear for him to wear. But we are nearing the portion of this where I will need to start digging into the 3D modeling phase of this. The 3D modeling, like the production phase of the challenge, begins on the 10th of June, so that's in 3 days. I have been so involved in the production, like the concept art behind this, that I kind of neglected the fact that in order for me to start 3D modeling, I'm going to need an orthographic image, or at least I'll need a front and a side shot of my model in order to begin modeling. I'll need that as reference if I'm going to stay true to any kind of consistent guide. So that's my goal. Let's see. Right now, I'm kind of digging through some anatomy books that I have lying around. Unfortunately, the one specific book that I was really hoping to use for this, I realized only just now that I still have it packed away. I moved a month or two ago, I forget. The days just sort of blur together. But long story short is I don't have access to it right now, but I'm going through a couple of other books that I have to see if I can find a workable anatomical reference for me to begin this layout with. Alright. One thing I'll have to keep in mind as I work, I'm so used to whenever I draw a character, whenever I design a character, it's usually like a superhero or some sort of monster or creature or something, so like I tend to really bulk them up, perhaps unnecessarily so, and this character is not of superheroic proportion. He is an old man, kind of scrawny, and generally non-buff. He has probably a little more muscle than you would expect, because back then they had to do everything by hand. They didn't have machines, very many processes, automatic processes to do anything with, so he probably got some meat on his bones, but not as much as modern aesthetics. Like he was no Chris Hemsworth, let me put it that way. So one thing that I really found, that I stumbled across pretty much just now as I was doing this research, and I will share the link for this when this broadcast is over, but there is a website in the UK that has all of Leonardo da Vinci's anatomical studies, and I think that is amazing. It's gorgeous, gorgeous work. Of course, he didn't draw from anatomy books. He actually dug up corpses and dissected them in his workshop, and that's kind of macabre, but that was the only way that he could get the knowledge that he needed in order to accurately portray the human body. It was kind of a mystery to most people, and he did the hard work, the gruesome work of figuring it all out so that he could make his drawings as accurate as possible. Fortunately, I don't have to do that because I would not have the stomach for it. But yeah, how all the muscles and tendons connect, and the different, like, how these muscles are layered together and how they attach, and it's just really intricate. They're according to some anatomy classes that I had taken way back in the dinosaur times. They mentioned that some of his anatomical drawings are not actually anatomically accurate because he had made certain assumptions as he was working, or he saw something and didn't really recognize it for what it was, But in any case, like, he got most of the general hard work done. And it's really easy to see. It's like, especially for an artist, to get this from the master himself, like the spinal column, how that curves, and how, like, he's got an orthographic of a spinal column right here. He's got the front and the sides. Either that or that's the back, I can't tell. I think that's the back. He's got the back and the sides. He's got the individual, like, the different phases of the spine. That's just some impressive work. And yeah, if you are interested at all in taking a look at the work that he did, to see how a real master does it, I'll post that link and you can click on that, and that'll be an excellent resource for any artist to have. I'm really glad that I stumbled across this, because this is incredible. Okay, I will set that aside. This is not Leo's stream, this is mine. So I guess I'll have to dig in and start doing some work. Alright, so any good orthographic is obviously going to be, for a human, generally you just need a side and a front, but it would be very helpful to have back as well, so eventually I'll probably put together a back ortho. We'll see how much time I have. Like I said, I have 3 days, and this stream may run long, but it's not going to run long enough for me to do all of this, I don't think, in one night. So I will definitely be breaking this up. I know that generally I wanted to stick with Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays as a work schedule for this. However, considering I need to have this done for the modeling phase to begin on Monday, I may be streaming on Saturday and Sunday as well, at least for a few hours each, to get this done. So let's begin. Okay, I'll start a new file. I'm going to have this as reference. I've flattened it out, and so I can have it. So let me do an image size here. Something tells me I made it way too large. Yeah, probably a bit. So let me scale this down a bit. Let's make it approximately, let's make it 8 by 10. That's fine. Actually, 10. Yeah, let's make it 10 by 10. Yeah, why are you not... Oh, that little things. Cancel. One thing, I have a weakness. Apparently, I cannot talk and multitask at the same time. Like I can't talk and drive simultaneously. Apparently, I also cannot talk and Photoshop at the same time. If I get to talking, then I'm kind of screwed. Like I'll sit here and not do anything. But that is not what we need right now. We need to actually do something. Alright, so this will be a square. And we'll cut this in half. We'll do the front on one side. Let's make that actually... Okay, so if this is the 5-inch mark, it'll be 2.5 inches. 1, 2, half. And that'll divide this half in half. So the right side and left side will be here for the front. And then we'll do the same for the side. However, probably that is not going to be a symmetrical divide. That's just going to be front and back. But it tends to get a little blurry. Alright. So I'm looking at this old proportion scale. You know, the old kind that give you like how many heads tall the average human should be. I'm probably going to use approximately that guide. It says, you know, the size of, like, for a man, to make his body overall 7.5 heads tall. So however large his head is, the head would be 1, and then go all the way to 7.5, and that's his overall height. And then his center would be a little over, or like somewhere between 4 and 5, but closer to 4. So that'll be the dead center of the image. Huh. Okay. This will be an easy fix. Let's make the image size 7.5 inches. Actually, let's make it 7. He's going to be a little bit shorter. Nah, 7.5 will be fine. Let's make it 7.5. I can always adjust it later. Let's just go with something proportionately accurate-ish. So now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a half. There, okay. Now these guides are really going to screw me up, I think. So I will not be using them, because as you draw in Photoshop, if you are making a line, it has a tendency to stick to these guides, and that is not a helpful thing. So instead of having the guides in place, I'll rely on the kind of structure that they actually have in this book. I'll do some stripes. Go. And then really drop that back. And I can hit Control H to hide the guides. And there we go. Another layer to begin the drawings on. Let's get to my brush tool. I'll be using my pencil, my trusty pencil. So now that I have this, this the background, and then I can make my canvas a little larger. Make that 8 by 8 from the center. So now I have a little border. Control H for the guides again. Let me draw down a single line. Oh, nope. Nope, that's less than helpful. And we'll fill them here. Hide the guides again, and that is my center line. Change the color here. I tend to like a traditional non-photo blue as I work, just because it makes me feel like I'm using an actual pencil. Okay, so I'm just going to be marking out the main proportions right now. Just getting the general idea. It's not going to be 100% accurate, but it'll be enough of a landmark to start fleshing things out. Let me start with the skeleton first. It's the skull. Begins pretty much right around here. The base of the neck. And so the clavicle is here. Shoulders pretty much around this area. I'll also just do this number. Base of the pectorals are around here. Looks like the neck muscle slopes a little bit more than that. It's a more gradual thing. But again, not Arnold Schwarzenegger, not Chris Hemsworth. Definitely not Jason Momoa. However you pronounce his name. His chest probably doesn't come all the way out this way. His shoulders might not even be that broad, and they might not come up like that. Actually, yeah, they would not, because the clavicle would be here. They'd come up and over. Spine would be here. Rib cage would begin around here and continue like this number. It's just around 3. Rib cage should begin right around here. The belly button is right here. So that would make the abs do this number. And then there's the obliques. Come down here. The groin area is pretty much right around here. Magic junk. I'll be skipping that part. He's got his glutes. Yeah, this is going to be a scrawny dude, but that's exactly what we need. His thighs. The knees start here, well, pretty much are here. The knees are here. There's the thigh muscles. Go from the inside, go over. Oh, trying to increase the size of my eraser and I'm hitting the wrong damn button. That happens on occasion. But not to me, it only happens to other people. What you just saw was an illusion. I'll have to take a closer look at the leg anatomy. The illustrations that I'm going... you know what? Let's consult a master. Like, I'm looking at this other anatomy book because it's got a good breakdown of proportions, but like, how does this muscle work? What does Leo say? What does Leo say about the leg muscles? Because we were just talking about that. Hi, Leo. Nice calves. Handy. Alright, let's talk about the thighs, though. We got feet and calves, but I know I saw a really good example of some thigh muscles. Alright, so we've got the skeletal structure of the knee. Let's see. Come on, Leo, give me something to work with. Arms, arms, arms. Swirling on down, swirling on down. I think, yep, here we are. Here we are. That's a little more complicated than I was looking for. If I can't find a simpler example in among Leo's things, I will go back to that one. Probably won't draw in all that detail, but it'll be a nice informative guide to work from. Alright. Let me see if I can get that. There we go. So that's the other side. I actually need to kind of do this in reverse a little bit. I'm going to be drawing this end here. And again, that seems a little muscular for what I need to do. But, and then there's the other side of the knee. So we get that little ball there out of the way. Block. Oh, nice. Yeah, that's actually really helpful to think about it that way. He's got the top and bottom. He's got the top of the knee. He's got the thigh bone, and then he's got the tibia underneath. And there's also a third, or at least there's this kind of box here. So that's what that is. Let me zoom in there, scale down my pencil a bit, and really work at that. Let's knock this back a bit with my eraser, so I have a guide here that I can draw on top of. But basically, make that pencil a bit bigger. Yeah, sometimes it's really helpful. Like if you're kind of unsure of why things are shaped a certain way in anatomy, like if you're not entirely certain about what's going on under the skin, just drawing it out, figuring it out, going in and breaking it down into its anatomical components really helps. That really does help. So look at this side. Something connects there. That's right, because this is lower. This comes up this way, then gets crossed over. For that. This portion comes all the way up here, roughly. All right. This comes down. Let's cover it up. All right. And pretty much right here is where the ankles begin. Or, yeah, rather that's where that landmark is. Big part of the there's the big part of the ankle on the inside, and then that comes down. There's the little ankle on that side. Pinky toes. And big toes. Straight down here. I'm not sure how wide I'm going to make his feet. But that is something that I will need to figure out in due course. Let's see. So then the inside of the calf. Alright, so that bows out and it starts up pretty high and it curves down. This side, on the other hand, starts lower and has a more distinct S curve on the inside. And again, not Chris Hemsworth. Knock that shit off, Charlie. Although I'm probably going to want to make him a little bit thicker, because this does not seem like realistically. I might want to thin up those thighs. Maybe thicken it up down here at the bottom. Actually, one thing that I'd like to point out, something that has been demonstrated to me that I remember picking up in an old animation class. Human anatomy kind of operates in, it's kind of like an S-curve as far as the flow of muscles go across the body. If you were to, say, take this profile view, which I just had, and then decided to really screw up. There. Get that into better view. Scroll down short. Just a hair. Alright. So, like, the flow of the body goes like this. You start to see curves, but not just on one side and then the other. Like, wherever there's a curve on the other side of the body, there's a straight. And so it tends to flow like this. You'll get a really nice S-curve, and then on the other side of the S-curve, there's a straight. So like you've got this muscle flows here, and then it comes around. Like if you look anywhere you look, so like you've got this end here. It's almost like a helix when you look at it from this side. And then when you come around here, like if you look at the legs really show this. What did I do? Go back. There we go. Alright, so if you start with the thigh, you can trace it down, and that is a really distinctive S-curve. But on the other side of the S-curve, there's a straight line. So curve, straight, and it inverts. So then you've got curve, straight, damn it, Curve straight, damn it. Curve straight, damn it. That's usually the flow, as far as I can tell. Alright, so curve, straight. Where do we go from here? See, this looks like a straight as well, but there's also a curve to it, so maybe this is the straight side. But there's that really distinctive arc at the bow of the spine, so that would lead me to believe that this is still the curve. So we're going curve and then straight, and then that comes to the other side, curve, and then the back here, the back muscles just on the inside, that's the straight. Curve, curve, straight, straight, curve, and then we have this part, curve, and then the inside of this is straight, curve, straight. Like, you just need to keep that flow in mind as you're building out your body. And it works the same way on the profile, on the front view as it does in the profile. So you've got curve, straight, and then it comes around, curve, straight. That's a straight. So that you can see the flow. Man, that is a scrawny ass body. Actually, the legs don't have that little messed up, because the legs don't end there. That's just where his package is. His legs are actually a little further apart. They're spaced a little further apart. Around. And there's like the back of the thigh muscle, like the back thigh area. That comes up. Now, so he's got his butt muscle there. I'm going to simplify this anatomy a little bit for the sake of simplicity. Know that this is basically the shape of his kneecap. Looky there. Alright, so now we'll move on to the arms. Like, we've got the approximation of the upper body. It's not perfect, but this is there. The pecs come up here and do this number. So then the deltoids. But first, let's lay down the bones. And on the other side of this, we've got the shoulder blade, which comes down like this, but we're not going to do that just yet. We've got the ball socket. And I will do this sort of like Vivitrian man pose. Looks like the elbow, like the end of the bicep is pretty much right here. And that'll be where we lay down the end of that upper arm. I guess it's called the humerus. This would be the femur tibia. Wait. There's the radius and the ulna, I think. Yeah, tibia and fibia. These are the two bone muscles, the forearm muscles. There's the tibia, and then there's the fibia, which comes down here and allows for rotation below the knee. Allows you to twist your ankle. Tibia and fibia. It's basically the leg equivalent of the forearm, which is the radial and the ulna bone, which I will draw. I think I really only need to do one of them, because I'll be doing this. I'll be doing this kind of like a oh wait, what did I do? Yeah, it's not going to come down this way. Alright. So the hand I'm going to draw like this, essentially. Because it makes things easier when you're modeling to, if you have any intention of rigging the character for animation, whether you are, you know, doing it in order to pose it, or if you're planning on using it as a project, when you pose a character for animation, it's best to actually put his arm in somewhat of a position like this. Actually, it's probably better to kick it out a little bit so that it comes out at like a 45-degree angle. That way you have a decent range of motion when you make your mesh, so you don't have to distort it too much in either direction. So you've got your arm coming out like this. You would think straight out like this, but the range of motion is more like this, because you can bring the arm all the way down here and up this way, but if you do it here, then that's a whole lot of motion this way, and the arm can really only go so high in this direction. Oh, hide that again. Yeah, I can bring it all the way up here, but no, it's generally just better to do it down here. Let's take a look at my history. So apparently... Oh, alright, no, we're good. Alright, so let's do the side of this bone then. And it's going to be more like this. And then do this number, sort of, kind of. First begins Well, in this anatomy book, that's a little bit off. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Because basically, the end of the torso, like the end of the junk, could be right around. Yeah, this is so weird. Because I had always operated with the hands, like the base of the palms beginning right here, where pretty much where the bottom of the torso ends. This end of the junk is the beginning of the hands, and I know this is not the technical medical term. This drawing book has it a little higher, like the hands, like the palm begins up here, but I'm not entirely sure I actually want to do it that way. Draw the thumb. And that's just rough placement. Deltoids come down like so. They meet up with the pectorials. Biceps are here. Triceps come in, backside. Again, like Chris Hemsworth. Comes along. Again, we've got that curve, straight, curve mentality. Come in and take a closer look at the hand here. So we've got the, you know what, maybe this ought to start a little bit higher up. Got the inside muscles, like the bony series of bones. Of course, all the series of bones would be bony. What the hell? You learn how to talk. But basically, you've got the almost looks like a clump of rocks on the inside of your palm, where the wrist meets the end of the arm. And you've got the carpals and metacarpals. Actually, this is the carpals, this is the metacarpals, and these are the phalanges. Basically, your finger bones. Phalanges. Right? So it's basically like this, you know. You got like the thing going on, rock monster down here. Then you've got the interior, like pre-finger bones. Oh, well here's another example. Lovely. Not quite. Never mind. That just shows the tendons. Yeah. I should definitely not already be tired. But then you've got the interior bone, thumb bone, followed by the first thumb bone and the second thumb bone. Meaty inside of the palm area. Actually, let's move that up a bit. Palm, sort of webby thing that connects the thumb and the index finger. The thumb. We've got the individual fingers, knuckles. And there we go. Rough approximation of 1/2 of the human figure. Let's Z. Divide this in half. Approximately like the eye sockets. In the middle, do the skull nose thing. This comes down here. I probably made the facial structures here a little too low. Like he's a baby. Your entire skull is babies. There we go. Because like halfway down the skull is where the eyes sit. The eyes sit right halfway dead center between the top and the bottom of the skull. The eyes go right there. Alright. Hide that. So that means that the socket is right here. So I did make that too low. Too low. Skull comes here. Jaw comes down here. Some additional bottom teeth. Chin. Jaw. Cranium. Lovely. So now we have this, half of it. So we duplicate this. Flip it horizontally. Oh, that's actually not the duplication. Flip horizontal, yes please. Scoot it on over. Raise that up because I think it got knocked down. Some sort of crazy ass, weird Cyclopsy character going on there. Ah. My name's Skinny Face. Okay. Alright. That does not look right at all. I think I made his shoulders a little too broad, like the shoulder muscles a little too muscular, and I maybe made his hips a little too skinny. Like generally male shoulders are broader than their hips, and female anatomy is the inverse. The shoulders are narrow and the hips are much broader, but I think this is kind of an extreme. Let me take a closer look because this does not quite seem right. Actually, I think the torso and thighs need to move up a little bit. Looks like I have the... Yeah, I might have the abs coming a little too low. I think I made the legs too skinny and shoulders too broad. So it's hard to see this when you're working on half of an image, but it does save you half the time. So now that we have the entire image, we have a better idea of where we kind of went wrong. So that gives us the chance to fix it. That back so I can see where it went. Alright, so the belly button is definitely right on target. That's right where it needs to be. But the... Alright, so I can use the warp tool. To sort of finagle some of this to where it needs to be. I can make the torso a little wider while I'm at it. raise the knee up slightly. Just to make sure that belly button stays where it needs to be. Alright, you know what, let's hit set on that. Here's what I should have done was probably duplicate this. That actually looks a little more natural. A little more natural. Now let's do something about, it almost looks like he's wearing sunglasses. That's so weird. Let's do something about the shoulder. Oh, duh. Also, the shoulder, it kind of does this number. It blends in and meets up with the clavicle. Really forms right there. Back of the neck slopes up here. In this area, there's the muscles that come down from the jawline to the sternum. They connect to the, looks like they connect to the sternum at least, or they connect to the clavicle, either way. But that gives you one, this shaded area here, and then you got the Adam's apple. It gives you this divot, but it also gives you this section here, this little shaded area, this nook at the base of your neck. Or is it more like this? It might be more like this. I'll have to take a closer look, but I think it's the other way around. I think it's more like this. Alright, let's see. Oh, yes. Let's consult Leo. Leo, what can you tell us about the shoulder and neck muscles? I know you can tell us quite a bit. Oh, nice. And there's the bicep and tricep as well. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. It comes down there. Yay. And this connects with that. Okay. I might need to do more side by side here. Duplicate of this page, I think. We'll continue on here. The bicep is basically looks like 2. Yeah, that's a more simplified version of the leg that I probably would have found helpful. I might dig into that in a sec or two. Alright. The triceps. Alright, let's take a second stab at duplicating this and moving it over so we can see whether or not that looks more accurate. And also let's turn off this layer. Scoot this one over. That, I think, looks a little better. That looks a little better. Still pretty scrawny, and yet it looks like he's not a potato standing on a pair of toothpicks. His torso is lean, his shoulders aren't too broad, he still definitely has that aged and slightly malnourished look that we were going for. Yeah, that I think is better, and it seems to be overall a decent proportion. And all these body parts are in proportion to each other, which is important. Alright. It is 9 o'clock. I might want to wrap it up for now. I was thinking about maybe going later, but it's been a long day, and I'm kind of beat. So, I will come back to this tomorrow. I'm not entirely sure what time. Whatever, I might start doing it earlier in the morning, or earlier during the day. I'm not going to wait to start on it too late. We'll see how much sleep I need to get, and when I wake up, and take care of a couple things. Yeah, I'll just... There will be an alert on Twitter, and I'm not overly concerned about letting my viewers down, since apparently I don't really have any, regular viewers. I have 2 that are following me, but I don't see anyone else really joining in. But I'm doing this for myself, and also, anyone else that is interested in maybe watching these later, they're more than welcome to. So if you stumble across this blog later on, hello, and feel free to join in at any time. Thank you very much for watching, when you actually do start watching, and I will talk to you guys later. In the meantime, may the Force be with you. Bye.